What's up, guys?
I was explaining there are so many things happening, starting from Nico Jackson, Guay, so I don't know where you want to start with, because I know there are
I want to start with Liverpool.
Yes.
I want to start with Liverpool.
Okay.
I think for Liverpool fans, it's probably the best deadline day ever, and maybe in the history of the club also for a few years. I think. I wish them not, but I think it's really unbelievable what Richard Hughes, the Liverpool director, is doing. A fantastic one, because after Alexander Isak around 1 a.m. last night, done deal. He's doing his medical completely today with Liverpool. Now Liverpool have agreed a deal with Crystal Palace for Marc Guéhi, and it's a here we go. The deal is done. Marc Guéhi is doing his medical right now in London, so the player is completing all the formal steps. He agreed personal terms long time ago, I would say. It was start of August when he gave the green light to the move, and now everything is done. Everything is okay. Everything is set to be signed. Marc Guéhi will cost £35 million plus 10% sell on clause. No add-ons. This is the deal between Palace and Liverpool, and so congratulations really to Liverpool, because apart from all the signings they already did, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kerkez and all the rest, Giovanni Leoni, and then to get also Marc Guéhi and obviously Alexander Isak on the playing, I think it's something historical. And then the other topic you were mentioning, Nicolas Jackson. Let's explain to Bayern and Chelsea fans what's going on with Nico Jackson. So guys, the deal is done. The deal was never off. I tell you what I know, then every journalist has his own version of the story, but the deal was never off. When a deal is off, the player is returning, going back to the city, and you say goodbye. This means off to me. I told you here last night that the deal was not off, but was on hold. On hold means let's wait. Because if now we are live and I tell you we go on hold because I have a phone call, I will be back. But if I don't get back, it's off. In this case, Nico Jackson decided to remain in Munich because he only wanted to play for Bayern. And the message arrived very strong to Chelsea. They understood that Nico Jackson didn't want to be part of the Chelsea squad. Chelsea are a smart club. They are not going to accept a player who doesn't want to be there. It's not a good solution for anyone. And so, what about Chelsea and Bayern? The deal has been agreed also because the player is really convinced about Bayern project, really attracted by the club, believing this is a perfect move for him. And so the deal is done for a different loan fee. First point. From 15 million euros, the loan fee will be 16.5. So Chelsea get 1.5 million euros more. And also, in addition to this, there is also an element of obligation to buy as a possibility for 2026. So we go from loan with option to buy to loan with option to buy and an eventual obligation. So let's follow also the formal steps now, signing all the contracts, all the documents. But Chelsea have been able to renegotiate the deal as they wanted. Bayern have been able to get the player as they wanted. Nico Jackson has been able to get the move he wanted. And so now we can say that Nico Jackson is going to Bayern. We wait for the medical. He's been authorized by Chelsea. I remember that Chelsea have recalled Mark Guiu from Sunderland. Rumors, many messages I'm getting, but the message, very clear message coming directly from Chelsea is that Santiago Gimenez from Milan is not a Chelsea target for the final 3 hours of the summer transfer window.
So we have a lot of questions, Fabio. We'll try to sum them up. We have one in particular asking about Manchester United midfielder. We have no news on that, right? Until now, then let's see what's going to happen in the next 3 hours. Manchester United completing another deal.
Yeah, I think for Man United it's important to mention Kobbie Mainoo because probably you don't have a new midfielder, but you will keep one of your best players. And my personal opinion is that when you are in a situation like Man United are, not the best moment in the history of the club, for sure, to send a player like Kobbie Mainoo on loan would be really something. For me, it's crazy that Kobbie Mainoo doesn't play. I'm in love with Kobbie Mainoo. I think he deserves to be a Manchester United player on the pitch, not on the bench. He's a fantastic guy, a top player, and so he's staying at Man United. Today, Man United in the morning, after what they did in the last 3-4 days, always saying no to loan, Man United spoke to the agents of Kobbie Mainoo and told them also to the player, you are not going anywhere. No chance, even on deadline day. It was already complicated last week. Then imagine, after the injury of Mason Mount, the injury of Matheus Cunha, not happening. So Mainoo is staying.
So I see a lot of questions about official statements, for example, like the one of Isaac. I want to remind you all that statements can also come after the deadline, so they don't have to be official until before 8 p.m. today. I see questions on Joe Gomez, and I want also to touch base with you story very interesting. Something that
Hi,
was
hi.
really surprising to see.
How you doing?
That day as well.
Jeff.
Yeah, true, because Inter have agreed a deal with Manchester City for Manuel Akanji. He's traveling now. There was interest from several clubs, but he's going
Hello,
to
Alexandra.
Inter. 2
Thank
million
you for
euros
joining.
fee, 15 million euros buy option clause to become mandatory in case Inter win the Serie A title this season and Akanji plays at least 50% of the games with Inter. So the obligation is not that easy. And then also Benjamin Pavard on the verge of joining Olympique Marseille because they are discussing the eventual details of the deal, loan with option to buy. But he's advancing well. Pavard is ready to go to Marseille. He understands that it's no longer too important for Inter project, and so work in progress for Pavard to Marseille, while Manuel Akanji will go to join Inter. So this is the story for Inter. I can also tell Arsenal fans that the deal is completed. The exchange of documents is completed for Pierre Nkapie from Bayer Leverkusen to Arsenal. For Bayer Leverkusen, has been a shocking day. We have to mention that Erik ten Hag, the coach, already fired by the club. Exclusive bomb in the morning. We have many exclusive stories today.
How are you doing,
transfer
Lamel?
market, the signings, and all the rest. But probably the biggest bomb of the day in terms of unexpected
La Fiona.
is Erik ten Hag fired. Because yes, in Germany there were some reports maybe he could be fired. This is a possibility, this and that. But then, boom, around 11, Erik ten Hag out of Bayer Leverkusen is something really, really big. Imagine they started a new project and you fire a manager on deadline day at the end of the summer transfer window. This is something really, really big. So we will see who's going to be the new coach. Many reports on several candidates from Edin Terzic to Xavi. My name's being mentioned. We will let you know who's going to be the new coach. But
Wow,
for
that's
sure,
amazing news, right? For
Erik ten Hag out.
Leverkusen to find their manager.
Day full of news and unexpected.
I'm doing well, man.
We will take the
And
time to
just
explain all these stories.
listening to
better
soccer
way,
news and
also
stuff
the
like
next
that.
day Here on YouTube channel as well.
How are you?
Many fans asking about Spurs, if they're gonna do any more business. There is some big news also for Spurs today and then day.
Yeah, it's about Randal Colomoni. It's here we go. It's an exclusive story. Broke last night for EM. Then we followed that during the whole day.
Sigma, what do you mean by Sigma?
Where Solomon goes, because there is some interest from two clubs, one in England and one abroad. So I think there could still be some movement for Manor Solomon. Randal Colomoni is a done deal on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. They will cover the salary. They will pay 5 million euros loan fee. So it's going to be slightly under 10 million euros, the total package between salary and loan fee, but they don't have a buy option. So Randal Colomoni next summer will return to Paris Saint-Germain, similar to what happened with Juventus. This summer
thank
he will
you, guys.
return to Paris Saint-Germain and we will understand more on his future. But let's see if Spurs will do something else. Let's see.
Yeah, we have 12,000 right now online, so thank you all for following. Fabri, last one for now, and then we will be back later also for another live show, I'm sure, before the deadline. What was I want to ask? Oh yes, because there are some fans asking about the situation of Dobbik and Jimenez. You were mentioning before that Chelsea, as far as you know, are not considering the option of Jimenez, but can the swap deal between AC Milan and Roma still happen in the next 3 hours or not?
Look, this is still a possibility. Let's see if they can reach an agreement on the formula of the deal. For Jimenez, for Dovbyk, they are talking, the clubs, the agents, all the people involved. Let's see what's going to happen there. For sure there is a conversation underway, conversation ongoing, but let's see what's going to happen there. I think this is one to watch really till the final seconds of the window, because Jimenez yesterday opened doors to Roma move, but this depends on the clubs. So
How's it
let's
going?
follow this, but I think this is going to be probably the
Didi,
most interesting story
67 Didi, what do you mean by that?
market for these final hours of the window. Don't forget it is almost 3 hours now, 3 hours and 15 in Italy, in England, everywhere apart from Spain, where they close at midnight. And so for sure this is going to be one of the topics we will be following. Tariqi George goes to Fulham, £22 million plus a heavy sell-on clause. Chelsea always included these clauses for Chukwuemeka, for Renato Vega, for several players. And I think that's it for now, but we will be back later with more informations.
Thank you.
And Jules, let's talk about goalkeepers. Let's keep Xhaka happy, because
He doesn't want to talk about goalies.
I'm fine, you know. Donnarumma to Manchester City. This is something that's just happened over. I know it happened today, but I mean, it was just in the pipeline over recent days. Yeah, this was on something that was on Manchester City's master plan.
No, absolutely, you're right. They when Donnarumma became available, because PSG put him on a transfer list, and it seemed that Manchester City were really the only club, which could be strange, but the only club that wanted Donnarumma, entered talks with PSG and with Donnarumma's entourage, his agents, to finalize a deal. He's a very expensive keeper in terms of wages, that's for sure. Plus, I know he's only 26 years old, but with only 1 year left on his contract, they still paid over 30 million euros for his transfer fee with only 1 year left on his contract. So it's an interesting one. It will be costly, but if he wins you matches, wins you the Champions League, wins you the Premier League, then obviously that doesn't matter so much. They had to wait for Ederson's move to Turkey to be finalized, which it was today around lunchtime, early afternoon, and after that, they just had a few hours to finalize the deal for Donnarumma. He passed his medical in Italy, where he's with the national team, obviously, but they seem very happy, and he's very happy that he signed for Manchester City. We've said it before, he doesn't really suit neither the Premier League because he's quite weak on set pieces and coming out for crosses, and he doesn't really suit a Guardiola team in the sense that his distribution is not the best, but on his line, he's the best goalkeeper in the world. So they weighted the pros and cons at City, and probably in a very short-termist option and mindset, they realised that on his line, he was better than anything else, and that was worth taking the risk.
Manchester City have just taken a boot the size of this studio desk, and they've kicked James Trafford in the Watsits.
Wow.
Big time. And he brought the lad back from Burnley, and then just, you know, and listen, that's football. But he actually had his best game. I mean, it's been a short return to Man City, but he was excellent at the weekend for City in defeat. But the trouble is, you're bringing in, you got a chance to bring in one of the best in the world. I don't know. Like, does this really
change the conversation about Manchester City being title contenders, getting back to first? It's a goalkeeper.
If you can play the back four.
My feelings are a little bit hurt here.
That's the problem, is that why not spend 35 million on each centre back?
That is the problem. If he can play in the back four, the goalkeeper, although James Trafford comes back from Burnley and he looked a bit nervous with his feet in the game against Tottenham, he's a good goalkeeper, right? And he hasn't reached any heights like Donnarumma. But it didn't seem on the face of it, Shaq, the most pressing concern if you watched Manchester City last year and Manchester City at the start of this season. It was the same old problems. It was how they got to the goalkeeper rather than the goalkeeper. So this is going to be an interesting watch because he is a good shot stopper, but he's like nervous when the ball comes to his feet. And they roll the ball, City, across that 6-yard box for fun. And unless he's just going to lump it up the field every time, like the old days when you just launch it, he's going to get caught because he just does not look comfortable with the ball at his feet. So again, this is one out the blue, and I think a little bit unnecessary when you look at all the other issues they have in the back line.
Like we've been discussing Ederson's future for since last summer, in all honesty, links with Saudi Arabia and everywhere else. So you understand City wanting to go out and get a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And then James Trafford becomes available, but oddly, so he's linked with Manchester United, and all of a sudden City swoop in and bring him in, and then all of a sudden Donnarumma becomes available, and you understand a goalkeeper of his reputation, of his standing, City being interested, and Jules is right. I don't think there's any other club, well, of the clubs that can afford Donnarumma, nobody's looking for a goalkeeper. So there really was only one.
There they are, Man United.
I'm not sure Man United are going to go that deep, that for a goalkeeper in the way that they have, and again kind of topple their wage structure. You saw it when they signed De Gea to an extended contract, that big money contract, and everybody followed suit. I'm not sure that Manchester United are in that position. That leaves City as the only possible landing spot, and credit to them. But
my credit.
Right, no. You need a goalkeeper. And I'm with you.
Bought one.
Donnarumma is one of the best
No,
in the
I
world.
understand.
The concern becomes for Donnarumma to work. Pep has to change how the City team plays, and there is no suggestion that that's going to happen. And that's the really odd thing about this. We've spoken about Pep's teams, about how he likes his goalkeepers to play, and how he's gotten rid of goalkeepers who can't play the ball with their feet. Albeit the likes of Joe Hart and Bravo were quite some time ago. Unless Pep is changing his thinking, I don't see how this works again. And there is nothing, certainly that we've seen in the 3 games so far this season, that suggests that Pep and City are going to change in that regard.
He's just hoping that, you know, he knows teams are going to create chances against him. We talked about it in the show yesterday. Almost every team in the Premier League fancy the chances of opening City up. And I think he's putting all the money on his chips that he hopes that Donnarumma's going to bail him out. That he's going to be the guy to make these saves.
Hey.
That when they are under pressure, he's
How
going
you
to make
doing?
a worldie after a worldie, and that's going to be the difference. There's a big question whether that can be the case, bearing in mind in some of the games the amount of space and the amount of chances they give to other teams. So this is a wait and see. But again, if you'd watched City over the start of this season and you look at that back line, you do feel that the money could have been spent better than replacing a goalkeeper.
And as we mentioned, Jules, the reason we're having this conversation is when you looked at Manchester City, a goalkeeper wasn't a priority, which of course is quite the opposite to the red side of Manchester. When you think, right, a goalkeeper like Donnarumma would be perfect for them, surely, just to bring a little bit of experience and stability into the back. Why didn't that happen?
I don't know, it's a good question. I mean, he wanted a team that played in the Champions League anyway, so United already, that was not the case. This is, for Donnarumma, and we didn't mention it when we talked about him in City, this is a 100 million euro really investment, because if you count the transfer fee plus the 5-year contract with big wages, this is what it would cost you, and maybe United were not ready to spend that on a goalkeeper. What's more interesting maybe is the Dibu Martinez situation with United, because clearly they were very keen on him. The leadership, the personality, the experience, a winning goalkeeper, World Cup winner, Copa America winner, all of that. That against a young, up-and-coming, very talented, but still young and inexperienced, with 1 year of professional football behind him in St. Lamens from Royal Antwerp, with a lot of people watching us would have never heard of that club. And then between the two, they go for the younger options, cheaper options, probably. And I think one of the issues today was that Dibu Martinez demands were not really of agreement with United, very different to Lamens, who's not going to cost them much in wages at all, for example. But in terms of profile, not even just pure goalkeeping qualities that Xhaka can talk about, but just for the leadership that this United team, that Lamens doesn't really have because he's been there 2 minutes as a pro, compared to Dibu Martinez, I find this choice really surprising.
Yeah, it isn't. It's like,
Well, show me a recent. Well, on the face of it, they look as if they made a couple of better signings, but over the last 3 or 4 years, we could pick out a dozen signings. You go, huh? That's a scratcher. What's that one about? And you know, they're in this, they keep talking about projects and this, that, and the next thing. And Jules is right. They have built their success over the years. They've always had an experience, whether it was Schmeichel or Barthez or even Mark Bosnich for a period. They've always had, you know, keepers that were super confident and would sort of bully a back four.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea what this young man's like. I've not got a Scooby like most people, so I don't know. Clearly they must have done their homework, but then we could say that about 15 of their signings in the last 4 or 5 years. Well, they must have done their homework, and they're selling Rasmus Højlund for half the price. They're getting rid of Anthony for a pittance compared to what they paid. So I can't tell you about the recruitment strategy.
As the story was developing yesterday, I thought this had to be some kind of bluff, that they're going for both. You understand the signing of Lamens at
you're going for Martinez as well?
Absolutely. You understand the signing of Lamens at that price and more as a long-term project. But you've got to get Dibu Martinez in for all the reasons that Jules just said. And while signing 2 goalkeepers in one transfer window might seem odd, Manchester United need it. If you look at the 2 who've occupied those spots over the last season and 3 games so far between Bandier and Onana. So you totally understand 2 goalkeepers coming in. Now, my concern with Lamens is, regardless of how talented he is, he's inexperienced. You cannot drop an inexperienced goalkeeper into this back four. You dropped a very experienced one in Andre Onana into this back four. You dropped a goalkeeper who, with Inter, got to a Champions League final. And they wanted his leadership, and this back four just left him exposed to the point where his confidence is now shattered. Now you bring a young man who's playing in Belgium, who's got one Champions League game to his resume, and put him into this and expect him to transform Manchester United defensively. I thought, again, this was a huge miss for them in terms of the long-term prospects for Lamens, and more importantly, the short-term for Dibu Martinez coming in and what he would have given them.
And you think they're going to have to drop him in after the
They're going to have to.
international break? And if you look at United's fixtures after the international break, it's the tough first 3 or 4 games.
We're going to be playing
are
Man
against some of
City.
the big boys. So that's
Yeah.
where they're going to have to drop him in, unless they say, "Oh, we're just going to wrap him in a bit of cotton wool." But how can they do that when the other two are as bad as they are? So they're going to have to put him in the side.
We spoke a lot over the last couple of months about United needing reinforcements in midfield, Jules. And of course, the reason that they didn't bring new people in is because of the wage bill, because they needed to clear some of these players off their books. Great news. They've done it. Jadon Sancho. Højlund's gone as well, and Anthony's gone to bed. The problem is they've done it all today, which means that they've now got these wages off their books. However, they've got no time to bring anyone new in. And once again, if you're a United fan, you're sat there scratching your head saying, why is all this being done at the last minute and not done a couple of months ago, where we could use those resources to bring in much needed reinforcements to this squad?
Well, I think simply because all the clubs that were ready to look into signing Anthony or Sancho, Garnacho, those kind of guys, knew that United were in a weak position, because everybody, the whole world and more, knew that they wanted those players out. So if you're Betis, of course you wait until the last day of the transfer window, because you're going to get an even better bargain. Same for Højlund, same for Sancho, same for Garnacho to a certain extent. I know it was not done today, but it was still only done on Saturday, because all those clubs knew that United was so desperate that wait a little bit longer, and at the end they say, okay, we give him to you for X amount, or this or that, get him on loan, or pay some of his wages, all of that. And that's where United were, again, naive or incompetent, whatever word you want to use, on the transfer window, because they just managed this whole situation of their bomb squad, which, by the way, is a terrible name to use for the players we don't want. It's even more like, we want them out. Look, we've just even put them in their own little squad that can't even train with the first team, but we want decent money for them. So please come and help us. No chance. And that's the reason. And you're right, the midfield, a keeper was needed. Forwards, you probably need, but 3 like Šeško and Bomo and Cunha, I'm not sure. But midfield in this system for Amorim is key. And yet they didn't get any reinforcement there, which is crazy, really.
The problem is United were absolutely desperate to get rid of some of these players.
And everybody knew it.
But nobody was desperate to get their players.
Yeah.
As Joe said, the clubs were prepared to wait and maybe miss out. I mean, Betis don't get Anthony, they'll survive.
Yeah.
You know, if Barcelona don't get Rashford, I know he was done a bit earlier, they'll survive. Chelsea don't get Garnacho, they'll survive. You know, Jadon Sancho. So, you know, clubs were willing to take them at a cut price. They were not desperate for these United players because they've been proven not good enough. They're taking them on a whim, hoping that for a fraction of the cost, it may have been a couple of years ago, they can possibly do a job for them. But they've brought in so many bad players that have underperformed that nobody has been desperate for their players. Nobody's been banging the door down trying to pay over the odds. Not for any of them.
This is business 101, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you put 4 players in a corner and say you're not good enough, but you're still trying to get value, as Jules said, why not take them on tour? Why not just show what they can do? Why not pretend at least that they got a part to play in your season to try and get people away? Just get them interested.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If you've got a car lot, you don't put all the bangers in the corner, the old bangers in the corner, and then put a sale price on them and hope people come in and buy the ones that the tyres are hanging off.
It just doesn't happen. It doesn't make any sense.
but
Is this down to Amorim?
It's down to both Amorim and the club. I think, again, Amorim could have handled this a whole lot differently. And to your point, we said this at the time, when these 4 players were excluded from training and we're not having them in and we're not taking them on tour, Manchester United just openly said, we are taking whatever we can get for this lot. And then all of a sudden, when you realize, hold on a minute, we might be stuck with these. You try to bring them in and integrate them. I'm a little bit surprised that Rashford got away as quickly as he did. So everybody else in world football knows, even if I want those guys, I can afford to wait. I can afford to wait because there aren't going to be many buyers. There aren't going to be many interested parties. Manchester United, the closer we get to the closer the transfer window, the lower their prices is going to go. It just beggars belief. And for all our complaints about Manchester United playing wise, Manchester United over the years, and it's always a dangerous comparison to make, have been a very well-run football club. Nothing about their business coming or going speaks to the Manchester United that we continually talk about.
Who's responsible for this, Jules?
I think it's a bit of everyone, really. Amorim was very, very strict on, I don't need them, I don't want them here. I mean, he didn't even speak to them. So that was that. And from the club point of view, whether that was Fletcher, like Wilcox or whoever is in charge of the recruitment and the sporting director role, if you want, it was also what they thought was the best. But I really think that Amorim didn't want them in that first team squad.
I think Erik ten Hag messed Manchester United, man. If you think about the number of players that he brought in, they are not good enough. Tyrone Malacia, Anthony, Rasmus Hojlund. I mean, Rasmus Hojlund could have gotten a chance, but not good enough. And you now think about the strikers that he brought in and get rid of Ronaldo. It's not really good enough. And potentially that's why he's been sacked on the darn day. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. And yeah, looking forward to the next video. See ya.